Hi everybody, it's Kay Gray again. Today I want to talk to you about self-advocacy and the importance of being able to have the right words to speak up for yourself and why it's important. Um, I find it frustrating, and I think a lot of people find it frustrating that we have to do the emotional labor of self-advocacy. And I know a lot of people say, if you're the marginalized person, you shouldn't have to do the emotional labor. I absolutely agree with that. But the reality is that if we don't do it, no one's going to do it for us. I know that some people are trying, but ultimately the real advocacy is self-advocacy, because no one knows your exact experience. And making that experience really emotionally salient for other people, making it so that they feel what you feel, is what's going to cause attitude change and behavioral change. And down the line, that's what I'm going to be doing my research in. But what I wanted to talk to you about is specifically like neurodivergent self-advocacy, or disability self-advocacy. For a long time, I did not know that I was disabled. I just struggled and felt like I had to make excuses for not being able to do stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Or I was tired. Or make up something totally different. I was really busy, even though I really wasn't, because I didn't know what else to say. And part of my journey over the last few years has been to learn the words and learn the phrases that actually make a cognitive difference for people, makes them understand what it is that I'm going through. And then on the other side, there's like a whole legal jargon that we have to learn, and it's hella frustrating. It is incredibly frustrating that in order to get something like accommodations at school, how many levels you have to go through just to, like, the number of people you have to call just to get your diagnosis, and then to get the papers that prove your diagnosis, and then to, get through to the office that needs to, approve your accommodations. And it just goes on and on and on. For example, my partner has been trying to get accommodations for a licensing exam. While everybody else in their class took their exam months ago, they have been waiting for their accommodations to be approved from all the different departments for months. So that means that their ability to apply for the same exact jobs that everyone else in their class applied for is delayed by 6 months. So that puts them at a huge disadvantage for getting their first job in their field. So I wrote one specific idea down that I wanted to share with you as a piece of self-advocacy. So level 1, what I used to say is, I hate work, period, because that's all I had. It makes me frustrated, it makes me angry, I don't want to do it, I hate work. Level 2 was, I can't stand to be indoors. It makes me feel sick. I literally feel unhealthy when I'm indoors for too long. Level 3, I started to say, I really need a window when I'm working. I never actually have gotten a chance to say this, but in my evolution of understanding myself, at one point I said, oh, I need a window. And I didn't have those words before. I didn't know that I could say, I need a window. Level 4, I need an accommodation of access to a window. A bunch of fluff words that signal to people, though, and we have this, like, labeling is actually super important to get people to understand what you're saying. So when you say words like accommodation and access, suddenly they go, oh, it's a disability thing. And they're much less likely to argue with you when you say it that way. And finally, level 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Maybe level 5? Sorry, I lost track. This is what I say now. I'm a visual stimmer, and I require seeing plants moving while I work, or I become suicidal from lack of visual stimulus. And this is 100% true. When I don't get to see, why do you think I take you out here? because this is where my brain works. If I don't see plants moving, I need living, breathing, moving plants in a safe space for me to be able to do anything. And that is an accommodation. That is something that you really can't argue with me about, because I can't function without it. And I'm done making excuses about it. So it doesn't mean that people are going to give it to me. It doesn't mean that they're going to understand. But it does mean that I am expressing myself with my truth, with the right words. And it sucks that people who have verbal processing disorders or just not able to make words, can you imagine at what kind of disadvantage they would be when they can't make these words, they can't learn these words. Maybe they can learn them, but they can't make them. It shouldn't be like this. Ultimately, my hope is that self-advocacy, if we all get really good at it, will get us to a place where the powers that be will understand that when somebody asks for something, it's because they need it. If someone is acting out, it's because they need something that they don't know how to ask for. So, what did I just say? When someone asks for something, it's because they need it. And if they're acting out, it's because they can't ask. So, remember that we're all in this together. We're all having similar experiences, although they're unique. We share very similar programming. And no one is malicious, even though it may seem that way. And if someone's doing something, like we talked about spitefulness in many of my classes, if someone is doing something bad to someone else, even at their own deficit, it's called spitefulness. But the thing is, it may be a physical deficit, but there's always an emotional bonus. We don't ever do anything that doesn't give us an emotional high of some sort, and it's usually dopamine. We usually get a reward for if we're upset at something. If we hurt somebody else, we are getting a neurological reward, and that's why we do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. We literally don't do anything unless we get a neurological reward of some sort. So, instead of making people prove themselves to you, ask yourself if you're willing to just trust. And may it be their journey. If they're lying, if they're bluffing, maybe there's something else that they don't have words for. And they can't express it yet. They can't ask for it yet. They don't know how. They're just hurting, and that's why they're acting out. So, self-advocacy is giving yourself the words and descriptions that makes other people recognize the labels that you're talking about, so that they take a step back and have more of a empathetic response to your needs. But the bigger goal is to understand that everybody has big needs, and that we're all just trying to do the best that we can. Peace and love.